Welcome back, everyone, for another super special bonus live episode of the Higher Ed Geek podcast here at EDUCAUSE in Nashville. This is our first interview from day two. I feel like my voice, I'm starting to lose it after like a night of socializing and networking stuff, but excited for another full day of interviews. And we're kicking off here with Nicole from Oracle. If you want to just briefly introduce yourself and your role, and then we'll talk more about kind of your presence here at EDUCAUSE and some recent announcements that you made.
Sure, of course. So, hello everyone. I'm Nicole Engelbert. I am head up product strategy for Oracle's student systems products. I'm not sure my parents even know exactly what that means, but my day-to-day work is really looking at where the industry is headed over a 3, 5, 10-year time horizon, and then helping Oracle make the right development choices in order to meet the needs of higher education institutions around the world.
Yeah, and I was really excited to have you on and sort of like kind of complement the sort of slate of interviews that we have here, where like kind of the digital infrastructure, sort of like the things that go into, like student information systems and stuff as sort of core utilities for institutions. Like I thought it would just be kind of a really cool perspective. But if you just want to kind of give a snapshot too of like kind of how you and your team are sort of showing up here at EDUCAUSE, like kind of, I know you're sponsored and like on the show floor, but like anything else, I guess, that you guys, you all are doing here that sort of captures, I guess, the way that you're engaging with the community.
Sure. So, I mean, for us, it's really about kind of engaging our customers. Oracle obviously has a large kind of number of institutions worldwide that are using our products, from infrastructure to AI to student systems to finance systems, really really everything. Kind of we have the whole stack, but also working with kind of other providers and associations to help those customers kind of better manage the ecosystem. And we're talking a lot about ecosystem enablement. Not that higher education or higher ed tech needs another set of buzzwords, to be sure, but that ecosystem that sits around the student system, like residence life, recruitment, alumni affairs, parking, I mean, it's never ending. That costs institutions a huge amount, both in kind of real dollars, but also in time and attention. And these days, anything we could do to slim that down is a good thing. So we're working really hard on kind of different strategies and techniques and approaches for interoperability in that ecosystem.
Yeah, I do like that word though, like ecosystem enablement,
So
like
friendly.
because yeah, I think that is like that's been something that's on my mind a lot is like, interoperability, sort of how's everything speaking to each other and kind of enabling your full potential. And I think certainly, yeah, there's kind of sort of motivators or incentive or sort of, desire, like you said, to kind of be kind of lean and sort of mindfully using limited resources and those sort of things. And I think, yeah, we're at this moment where I think tech stacks of institutions have sort of like matured or expanded,
Yeah.
like into a point. So like there's just sort of a different perspective on how you're sort of harnessing it. But and you were kind of, I think, perfectly segueing and teeing up. I wanted to make sure I can give you the space to talk about like you have like a new announcement of PeopleSoft Campus Solutions, the first student information system to achieve this new certification that's around interoperability. So if you want to just kind of highlight that, we can link to it in the show notes for folks. But just tell folks more about this
Sure,
announcement.
sure, of course. No, we're really excited about it. I mean, Oracle is a long-standing contributing partner to the One EdTech data standards group. It used to be called, for kind of the old folks, the older folks kind of in the room, it used to be called IMS Global. And so they worked with them to develop a new standard called Edu API. And it is a way to really standardize kind of the data that comes in and out of the major applications in the ecosystem for higher education. I know it's easy to say a person is a person is a person. Unfortunately, a person is not the same in a student system, in the LMS, and the CRM, and the advising solution. And so institutions then struggle to manage all those point to point integrations. And it starts to feel like, do you know those metal colanders that you like strain spaghetti in? And so all of those integrations represent a little hole in your metal strainer. You still need to get the water out of the spaghetti, but can make a mess if you're trying to, like, do it the right way. And so Edu API is a way to kind of make that colander more efficient and less scary, and enable institutions to, I don't wanna say plug and play. Anyone who says like something is easy, they're just bold-faced lying to you, but gives institutions more space to innovate because switching out a solution or using a solution in a different way or kind of deprecating solutions isn't as resource intensive. And so institutions can be faster and more agile, which is absolutely kind of the goal. And so campus solutions, we're now certified on the Edu API data standard, and we're going to use that as a launching pad for as our campus solutions institutions migrate to our cloud native solution, Oracle Student. That migration path will be easier because the ecosystem can come along for the ride because both solutions will be certified on the data standard.
Yeah, it's really interesting stuff, and I think I always love a good metaphor. I think the idea of like having something where it's like if you're not doing it correctly, it's going to make a huge mess.
Yes.
So like the idea of like okay, let's like try to do this as efficiently as possible. And I think yeah, I'm just glad I guess like the folks are really committing to something like a standard like this and sort of like um certainly I'm sure, it was very intentional, like, announcing it, like, here where it's, like, this
Yes.
sort of a community where, I think folks like yourself are coming here and, like, speaking with your customers, your clients, institutional partners, but also all the other, like, ed tech players and stuff like that. So, like, there is, like, because it's, like, that sort of, like, collaboration and community and everything is sort of endemic in, like, higher education, but
Yeah.
also I think, like, everybody's gotta play nice with each other to a certain point, like, with all the different ed tech tools to be able to, integrate. So, yeah.
But it does require everyone, like we can build kind of API endpoints in campus solutions according to the standard. But then we need a standards body to kind of organize it. And then we need other vendors to adopt it too. And then we need institutions to be actually quite strident and demand more from their vendors and say, darn it, folks, like let's keep the person model consistent across all these solutions. Like that should not be that's not a hard thing to do if people come together and agree kind of upon it. It's really not that difficult.
Well, and I think, like, to kinda ground this conversation too, like, because I think this sort of, like, digital infrastructure, certainly, like, a student information system is kind of, like, behind the scenes from, like, a student's perspective, certainly, like, it's kind of, like, invisible or whatever else. So, like, I guess just, like, if you can ground why all of this is so important, especially, like, from the student kind of user experience, so just anything that you could kind of share, from your perspective around that.
Sure. So we have at Oracle a student advisory group. So imagine 25 university students who meet with my product team monthly and basically tell us like, "Okay, boomers, you've got this totally wrong." It's a delightful meeting. I encourage anyone to come attend and watch these college students kind of hand it to us, kind of monthly. But what comes through in those meetings month after month after month is that when students have to answer kind of those 2 a.m. questions like, "How am I doing? Is this course going to count against this major? Can I afford to kind of go to this institution? Can I pay my tuition bill next semester?" The way our ecosystem has been set up, it'll often take that student, 42 clicks, 13 different systems, a spreadsheet that they created, a Reddit thread that they're kind of watching to figure out those questions. That's that's bad. Like there's no other way to describe that besides bad on the part of technology, right? Because if a student is not getting a 2 a.m. question answered easily, they're not sleeping that night. And that's bad. As a mom, I'm like, that's bad. But also, I think it exponentially increases the likelihood that that student doesn't persist. Answering questions at the time students have them keeps them on track. Letting questions kind of linger unanswered kind of veers students off the path. And we need more students on the path to graduation, like in the gates, across the stage. That's the goal.
Yeah, I think even like how you like simplified it so much of like, okay, like student experience and, all that being really important. And then that idea of like a just sort of core question, like if that is super hard for that. And like, I think that is sort of just like a refreshing take. And I'm sure, yeah, that comes from like having that like student advisory council because it's like that is the reality of like the day to day versus like, I don't know, I guess like loftier sort of stuff or just sort of like obviously like if there's like a distance or sort of a detachment of like the actual day to day student experience, like you may be I guess just on a broader scale, like the system works great for you, staff member or faculty member or whatever, but like not so much for the students. So yeah, and I think it is like that kind of like even the way that you framed it was just like the one grain of sand, that idea of like that one nagging question is not answered and whatever, like it's gonna throw off the whole system sort of thing for that student, like you said. So I think that's a great way to frame it. But and I guess anything kind of it's sort of like a similar point, I guess, is that the idea of like change management, sort of like implementation, like I always like to get perspectives on that because I think that's another kind of crucial ingredient into sort of digital transformation and sort of like how's that actually kind of taking hold of like, kind of organizational culture. So anything on like that sort of faculty and like staff side around like they're trying to make these changes or, figure things out, your sort of perspective on like effective change management at an institution.
Oh, you asked me about effective change management, and it feels a bit like a unicorn out there. Could I come up with 10 examples of it done exceptionally well? I don't know. I don't think so because it's really hard. It's so hard that folks kind of avoid it. It's like that things on your to-do list that are really hard. They say you're supposed to do those things first as opposed to last. We all do them last. We're like, "Okay, we'll tell the faculty about this new student system, like, after we've selected it and the go live is, 6
They're like
months."
on your way out the door, like, actually, yeah, well, one more thing, we're changing student information today. Like,
Exactly. And so that's what it takes, though, to get to a place where you're actually answering those 2 AM questions of students kind of consistently well. And so that discussion about what do we want to accomplish, what kind of institution we want to be, what kind of experience do we want to deliver, that needs to happen before you talk to your friendly Oracle sales rep. Like way before, because that's not for Oracle to decide. That's for you as an institution, as a community, kind of to decide and let that percolate up from the institution and its culture. Who are we and how do we want to answer those 2 AM questions? And then come to folks like Oracle and say, this is what we want to accomplish. Show us some options for how we can get there.
yeah, I think that's another great perspective of like starting as early as possible. Like I'm just sort of like norming kind of the idea of like we're going to be looking into this. So like this is sort of our ideal timeline, and then like the idea of like once you're approaching or sort of evaluating vendor partners or whatever else,
Yeah.
like you've got a pretty clear idea of what you're looking for. Because I think there is like the idea that there's sort of like room at the table for everybody of like certain platforms and tools for things like less flexible than others, and like that could be beneficial. Where it's just like, oh, it's kind of great right out of the box, and it is what it is, and great. But other ones where it's like we're gonna have a lot of different unique use cases or whatever, so we're gonna need something that can kind of like adapt and mold around us and stuff. So it's like kind of anticipating that or knowing that and knowing it as specific as possible, from the get go, I
Yeah.
think is like, yeah, that ingredient where it's just like, it's going to obviously just make the whole process, I think, be kind of faster versus like a lot of people like that. Cause I guess, yeah, what I was thinking about for in this kind of context of like the 2 a.m. question is just like, if it's sort of like, one more, we're like, all right, any more questions? And it's like, actually, one more thing, one more thing, one more thing. And you're like, guys, we got it. Like, so
No.
it's like, if you like sort of solve for that as much as possible, it's like, it just is like smoother and quicker once you're like actually in the thick of it.
But that it kind of gets to, I mean, it is kind of over the next kind of 1, 3, 5 years, what is a feature? What is a function? What are your requirements? That's going to be all changed because it's going to be that 2 AM question is not going to be I'm logging into my student system and clicking on degree audit and then my program requirements and seeing if organic chemistry section 3 kind of fits. It's going to be I'm using voice to text with an agent saying kind of what are the different scenarios for registration. And so that changes how you'll look at solutions. You won't be saying, okay, show me your degree audit. It'll be show me how agents can kind of engage because these are the types of questions our students have. And so, if, as an institution, you don't have your arms around what are the questions you want to answer and how do you want to answer them, it's going to make technology choices much more difficult and much more prone to kind of error and missteps than perhaps they were in the past.
Well, as we wrap up, I mean, you've already given some really great kind of advice and just perspectives and everything, but just to kind of give you the final word, any sort of closing thoughts, calls to action, whatever else to leave folks with.
I guess if I were to say kind of anything is to really press your vendors, your partners, your consultants for more concrete answers, more specific use cases and scenarios. Because in the current environment, resources are they've always been precious, but now they're incredibly precious, both time and attention kind of and the gold kind of as well. And so we all need to do better if we're going to get through this time together.
Yeah, well said. And I think that is great thoughts and perspectives to leave folks with. And just really appreciate you and all that you shared. We'll have
My
ways to connect
pleasure.
with you in Oracle in the announcement that we talked about in the episode description. But yeah, just really great chatting with you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.